Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December 4th, 2017 Informal County Commission meeting. We'll now call the meeting to order. We have one person to address the commission, Dr. Ronald Whitford, regarding the rabies tax. Dr. Whitford, if you're present, good evening. If you would, please come forward to the microphone. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. You'll hear a tone go off, and if you're not through, we'll just politely ask you to try to wrap your comments up.
Well, it's not going to take that long, I don't think. I want to talk to you a little bit about that tax that was passed. First thing I want to say is that in all previous years, when something like this came up, or even the dollar fee, the county government got all the veterinarians that were in town at the time and the health department together to discuss this issue. None of us knew anything about this until y'all already passed it. Now, let me give you some facts of reasons I think you need to think about and go back and take a look at it. Number one, we should be doing nothing that's going to decrease the number of pets that are vaccinated for rabies. How many of you knew there was a case of active rabies in a dog in Sango last year? Anybody? That's the first time in 50 or more years it was there. Vaccinations in the United States across the nation are decreasing. One reason, because veterinarians have gotten so expensive in many areas, but all that increases the chances of more rabies. Out of sight, out of mind. You don't hear about it. We don't do the rabies clinics out in the county anymore. You have to come into the clinics during the month of March, and it's just nothing done. And so it is something that you need to think about from a public health standpoint. The director of the health department was floored when I called him and asked him if he knew about it. He said, I had no idea. He said, nobody said a thing to me about this. Number two, rabies tax, which is what you're doing, discriminates against the pet owners that are doing what their pets need. Now, if you look at the shelter, I have nothing against the shelter. It's there for a purpose. It was there for rabies control originally. So the thing is, the people that vaccinate their pets and are doing what they're supposed to do don't have any business much with the shelter. So why are you taxing them? Why are you making it harder for these people to go and get a rabies shot every year? Because $5 is not a lot of money, right? Or if you want the 3-year shot, you got to pay $15. But what if you got 6 or 7 dogs or cats? Number three, the animal control benefits this entire community. Nothing different than schools, health department, roads, jails. So you tell me, why should the shelter now have you passing a rule that pet owners are going to have to pay a tax when they're doing their part for the county to begin with? And it is a benefit to more the people that don't have pets or to the ones that are not vaccinated than it is to the ones that do vaccinate. Do you have any idea how many animals were vaccinated last year for rabies in Montgomery County? 35,000. What, close to 200,000 people in the county now? Don't you think there's more than 35,000 dogs in this area and cats? So we're doing a very poor job on vaccinating even at the prices we get today. There's something in public health called community immunity. If you can vaccinate 70% of the animals, then you're going to keep rabies under control. We're nowhere even close to 70%. And when you consider the bats and everything else we got in Montgomery County, this is a problem. The animal control does benefit everybody. Rabies tax places a big burden on low-income people. And these are the ones that we really need to be concerned about, because most of the time, these are the ones that have the multiple pets. With any additional rabies tax discriminates against veterinarians. Can anyone name me a tax that you're making any other professional in this county charge and take the brunt of it from the people that have to pay it? I don't think there's any county, any other professionals having to do anything like that. Yeah, everybody collects sales tax, but I'm talking about where you've pinned a certain group of people and you're making them pay the tax, collect the tax for you, so you don't have to get the blunt of it. And then the people that really don't need it that much be the ones to pay the tax. Another reason has to do with the economy. Montgomery County veterinarians will be financially hurt by this added on rabies tax. Fort Campbell has a veterinary clinic in the Kentucky side, and they are vaccinating more animals in North Clarksville than all the veterinarians in North Clarksville put together. They don't have to pay the tax. I don't think you can make them pay the tax. What about Oak Grove, just across the county line? What about Hopkinsville? Some people go to Hopkinsville to board their animals and get their vaccines up there. What about Guthrie? What about all these veterinarians that are coming in out of the county now or out of the state and working at the pet stores, at Petco, at TSC, maybe Rural King, all these places, they're not paying the tax. So why should we have to pay the tax and discriminate against our own clients? We don't want to become tax collectors. We're not bonded. We don't want to be responsible for any money that might come up missing, the extra bookkeeping involved. These are all issues from the business side of it we don't want to be involved in. It's the responsibility of the Montgomery County Commission to treat all taxpayers fairly and provide adequate funding for all of the approved county governments, rather than trying to disguise additional funding by discriminating against pet owners and veterinarians and making us have to take the blunt of the criticism just because you all don't want to raise the budget to cover it.
Dr. Whitford, if you would, please try to wrap your comments up, please, sir.
I'm done. I'll take a question if anybody's got a question, if you allow that.
Any questions of Dr. Whitford?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
If you have to excuse me, I've got to go back. I just had to run in for this meeting.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we have a grant presentation by Ms. Carla Keene and others. Carla, if you want to come up to the microphone.
Good evening, everyone. The question I want to ask you tonight is, did you know that fewer than 1% of the population of America can count themselves as farmers? And so the question becomes, who's going to be our next generation of farmers? And as we are losing land to development, who is going to provide your food in the future? And so we have an answer to that. Between University of Tennessee and Tennessee State University, we have are involved in a grant program that is going to allow us to provide education for especially transitioning military to become farmers. And so through this grant program, we are going to provide education and workshops and the opportunity to attend the new Farmers Academy and other conferences so that people can learn more about agriculture and about farming. So our grant is supported through the USDA, and our partners include the Agribility Project, the University of Tennessee, Tennessee State University, also the Farmer Veterans Coalition, and the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, and the Homegrown by Heroes label. And as I said, this program will not only address traditional agriculture, but we have to look at horticulture. A lot of soldiers coming out of the military have issues with PTSD and other disabilities, and so that we want to help those people go into farming and make a good life out of farming. And so, as I said, through this program, we're going to be offering workshops and educational programs throughout the next 3 years. Oh, did you all want to say?
Well, we'll just say that we've had a reception next door. We hope several of you I know made the reception. We've had an opportunity to invite folks who can be recipients for some of this money and this education. We want to serve our entire community here. Introduce Charlie Jordan to you. Charlie is a veteran, and also he's beginning a Veteran Farmers Coalition chapter here in Tennessee, which works with veterans and helping them transition to agriculture. The really exciting thing is that these veterans have a heart of service. In fact, I think we should applaud our veterans.
I agree.
But the amazing thing is that when they leave the military, they don't stop. I've already heard several veterans in the next room telling us about how they want to serve their community. One guy was talking about growing vegetables and selling at farmers markets, and then he wanted to give surplus to a soup kitchen. So they still want to serve. And so we're so delighted to have this grant to give us an opportunity to better equip them to transition into another life. So thank you so much. We just wanted you to know about it.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.
How much is the grant for?
The total on the grant is a little over $700,000
Wow,
between
that's
both
awesome.
universities.
That's awesome.
So we're piloting here. We are piloting here, and then in one county in East Tennessee, and then may this spread across the state is the plan.
That's awesome. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is our zoning. Dr. Ripple? Commissioners, this will be Dr. Ripple's last presentation to us. He's decided to retire and move back up north. And Dr. Ripple, I'd like to say that we're going to do, we have something for you next week, but I just want to say what a pleasure it's been to work with you. You are 100% professional in all that you do. You are very detailed in all that you do, and your skills of plugging up that computer over there may not be the best, but when you put your presentation up there, it is the best. So I just want to personally thank you for your years of service to Montgomery County before you start. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
So our first case is CZ 17-2017, application of Matt Rudolph Jr. Trust from R1 to C5. Dr. Ripple.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Commission. The rezoning is from R1 to C5. It is located on Highway US 41A south. On the south side, it's east of Miller Road and west of Quail Hollow Road. It is also, if you're familiar with the Rest Haven Cemetery, just east of the Rest Haven Cemetery. The site of the size is just under 39 acres. However, as I'd point out that a portion of this 39 acres is restricted from development as they are wetlands. The purpose of the rezoning is to allow commercial development along Highway 41A, which is, as we all know, is being 5-laned. The site's generally sloping with some wetland areas. I think you may also notice that this is part of Hereford Farms and that a 700 unit subdivision for single-family purposes has been approved to the south by the Planning Commission. A traffic assessment was done of the site, and there will probably need additional traffic assessments as specific developments are identified and go through the site plan process. There were no calls in opposition. No one spoke in opposition to this rezoning. Jim King, representing the developers, did speak briefly, and both the staff and the Planning Commission recommended your favorable consideration. Are there any questions?
Any questions of Dr. Ripple on CZ 17-2017? Dr. Ripple, do you want to present the next one, and then I'll do the public hearings one at a time?
Absolutely,
afterwards?
Mayor.
CZ 18-2017, application of Jack Dallin from AG to M1.
I know. Yeah, the computer's locked up, so. So it's down. Yeah, get rid of that. There we got it. Sorry, the computer locked up. It's the computer's fault. This case is CZ 18-2017. It's the applicant of Jack Dallin. The agent is Chris Blackwell. The property fronts on the south side of Dunlop Lane, roughly 900 feet east of the Steelstock Road intersection. It's right next to a Coca-Cola operation. Again, the rezoning's from agricultural to M1. The intended use is a contractor's office, and we've been told by the applicant's representative that would be Blackwell Construction on the front, and they've got a secondary user on the rear of the property. It's roughly 6 acres. It is surrounded on the east, south, and north side by industrial uses. David Baggett spoke on behalf of the applicant. There were some calls for information, but no opposition. And at the Planning Commission public hearing, no opposition was expressed to this rezoning. So the end shot here, again, is the Planning Commission staff and the Planning Commission recommended your unanimous favorable consideration.
Any questions of Dr. Ripple on CZ 18, 2017? All right, thank you, Dr. Ripple. At this time, we'll go into public hearing to hear anyone that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to CZ 17, 2017. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on behalf of this zoning request? If you would, please come forward, just state your name and your address. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And we'll go over 3, you'll hear a buzzer, and I'll ask you to try to wrap it up.
All right, my name's Jim King. I'm representing the owners of the property. We just want to get commercial zoned to the C5 for future development along that main corridor. Everything else through there's mostly already there. We don't have detailed specifics of exactly what would be going in there at this time. But if you got any questions, I'll be happy to answer them best I can. If you have any engineering questions, our civil engineer, McKay Burchett's here, can answer any of those.
Any questions of Mr. King? Commissioner Nichols.
Thank you. The only question I have is what type of barrier or type of division will be from developed property in the wetlands, sir?
We're planning on building a landscape berm, just a mound of dirt basically between the commercial and the wetlands. The whole area that differentiates between the commercial and the residential is not wetlands, just a portion of it is. But we're anticipating doing a landscape berm across the whole thing, and we don't have any kind of landscaping plan, but I would assume it'd be like a Leland cypress or, vegetation, some kind of vegetation planted on top of the berm.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. King? All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak on behalf of CZ 17, 2017? Anyone in the audience to speak in opposition to CZ 17, 2017? Anyone to speak in opposition? All right, we're now closing the public hearing on CZ 17. At this time, we'll open for public hearing on CZ 18, 2017. Application of Jack Dallin from AG to M1. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of CZ 18, 2017? Mr. Blackwell, good evening. I think you know the rules.
Good evening, Chris Blackwell. Going to build my construction company office there and was going to put the airborne disposal behind it. That's my plans. If there's any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Blackwell? Commissioner Sokol.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry, I'm kind of a little hard of hearing. What are you going to put in the back?
My trash business, airborne disposal.
Airborne Disposal. He has a trash business.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Blackwell? Commissioner Johnson?
Mr. Blackwell, what exactly does your trash business consist of? What exactly is the procedure that goes on with that business?
It's a full trash service. I mean, from residential to commercial to roll-offs. It's a full business.
I'm probably asking you, you'll store your containers there, your trucks, that
Yes.
type stuff? That'll be kind of your storage yard?
Correct.
Any other questions of Mr. Blackwell? All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else in the audience to speak on behalf of CZ 18, 2017? Anyone in the audience to speak in opposition to CZ 18, 2017? Anyone to speak in opposition? We'll now close the public hearing on CZ 18, 2017. Our next item of business are resolutions. Resolution 17-12-1, resolution to appropriate for Montgomery County's portion of a grant match to secure additional grant revenue on an existing grant for the Clarksville-Montgomery County Regional Airport. I assume Mr. Patterson is here, or someone from the airport. There you are, John. Come on down to the microphone, please. I'm sure there'll be a few questions about this. If you would, just give us a brief overview of what this is.
Good evening. We've been working about 6 years on a runway project, working out all the details with the state of Tennessee and the federal government. This project will work to take out a dip in the north half of the runway, a deviation of standards that we've talked about in the past. It'll correct a centerline to centerline issue where we currently have 280 feet, bring it out to 300 feet to accommodate the larger aircraft that we're already seeing out at the airport. It'll update our lighting system from our current incandescent lighting system to an LED lighting system, which gives us better visibility in inclement weather, as well as there will be a cost-saving component of that with our electricity out there. And we'll get the new precision markings for the runway, as well as new asphalt for another 50 years of use at a minimum out there. We put this project out to bid. The competitive bid process came back in at just shy of $13 million in order to complete it. We already had $11.4 million in grants that had already been awarded to the airport.
Hey, John, let me interrupt. Can y'all turn this microphone up a little bit, please? I'm sorry.
Is that better with the direction?
Is
okay.
Yeah.
There we go. We had $11.4 million of grants already awarded the airport. The state of Tennessee has offered us another $1.2 million at a 5% match in order to bring our grant availability up to the bid amount for the project. And we have requested those additional dollars here. The county share would be $153,008. The county already has appropriated capital investment dollars to the airport on other projects where we came in under budget. So we already have a credit of $61,576. So the airport is here tonight to request an additional $91,432 in funding to finish the match on the project to get an additional $1.2 million.
Any questions of Mr. Patterson? John, what's the total grant amount since the state kicked in the extra amount? About $12 million? A little over $12 million?
It's $12,929,000 and some
Almost $13 million
Yes, sir.
then. All right. No questions, John? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next resolution, 17-12-2, resolution to appropriate funding for the purchase and installation of LED lighting for Solar Way. I'm going to let Chief Truitt handle this. Chief?
Came to the Budget Committee, talked to the Budget Committee about this. We've got 33 solar lights that we now own on Solar Way that were installed about 5 years ago. Each one of those light poles has 8 batteries in there, and they have met their lifespan. And so we looked at replacing those batteries. Those lights and light poles and batteries are about a 3 to 4 year lifespan. Or we looked at upgrading that technology and going up with something about an 8 to 10 year lifespan, and brought it before the budget committee. It was 25 grand to replace all those batteries, or it could be up to 60 grand to put new technology on there that would give us 8 to 10 lifespan on new solar lights on the top of those poles. So budget committee made the recommendation to put forth a resolution not to exceed 60 grand coming out of the general fund to replace those with newer technology, solar LED lights. That's where we're at. Any questions?
Commissioner
Chris
Redd.
Redd.
So we will no longer have batteries then that will have.
They will have batteries in, they will have newer technology batteries in there. 6 years newer
We'll have new batteries
technology.
plus LED.
The LED is the light portion of it, and the
Right.
battery just withholds that solar energy that it collects to use for the light.
But they will still have batteries that's there.
Yes, they will have newer technology batteries that will have a longer lifespan.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Resolution 17-12-4, resolution to amend animal care and control regulations regarding rabies vaccination registration fee and collection. Oh, I'm sorry, 17-12-3, resolution approving a payment in lieu of taxes program for the Clarksville Housing Authority. I think we have some folks here from the Housing Authority. If y'all would like to come forward.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Tyus. I'm the Executive Director of the Clarksville Housing Authority, and we are working in conjunction to bring about $6 million worth of rehab to South Central Village. And the resolution that we have will cover the payment for in lieu of taxes on that particular property. And we presented all the information to you all, to the mayor previously, and we're asking that you all would pass the resolution. Do you have any questions regarding it?
Any questions? Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. In what we received tonight, what were the assessed taxes on those properties?
My name is Scott Baldridge. Thank you very much. The property had been owned by a nonprofit for 40 years, and I think the previous taxes were...
In lieu was roughly around $6,000. They had a pilot in place previously where they were paying approximately $6,000 a year in taxes. The proposal for this would be roughly 45, I'm sorry. Between the city and the county, it would be roughly 60, but it's 45 is what the county would actually receive.
Would you have any problem with supplying that information to us?
Oh,
Absolutely. We would.
That'd be helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? I just, one comment. I know Mr. Harvey's been working with Mr. Lampkin. We've got to make sure that somewhere in this agreement, in the lease agreement, as far as if for some reason it defaulted, that Montgomery County had an avenue to collect those back taxes, for lack of a better words. And I think Mr. Harvey and Mr. Lampkin will have that worked out by Monday night. And next Monday night, we'll have that for you, and Mr. Harper will also provide you with information that you requested. Any other questions? Commissioner Vallejos.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish, if you would tell us the same, you told us some of the upgrades that you were going to do, and I heard a couple of my commissioners in the back here wanted to know some of the types of upgrades, because I told you my concern was making sure that nobody was displaced, and how this is going to be a better quality of life issue for a lot of these folks, and what you're dealing with with the whole project.
Sure. I'm going to have Scott talk a little bit about that.
Yes, thank you. I'll give you some of the items that we will be rehabbing. I hope to not get too extensive and bore everyone, but it's really going to go through a substantial rehabilitation. The property has been, I think it was constructed about 40 years ago, hasn't really received a lot of attention recently. It's still a functioning property, it still looks good, but we're doing everything from replacing a lot of the systems, so we're putting in new air conditioning condensers and air conditioning units, new windows, increase the efficiency of the units. We're putting in all new flooring, so we're putting in the nice faux wood flooring. We're putting in new cabinets. We're putting in new countertops, quartz countertops, new refrigerators. So the units, the interior unit's going to be completely rehabilitated. We're completely redoing the ground floor community room. We're dedicating, we're fortunate enough to have Meals on Wheels assist us at the property, and we're creating office space for them, increasing the kitchen and making it more efficient for them to serve the residents. And we're also giving the exterior a nice facelift. We're dealing with some of the accessibility issues that hadn't been dealt with before, including putting in parking, handicap parking at the site. And because of the type of property that it is, it's governed by a HAP contract, a HUD, Housing Assistant Payment Contract. The residents currently only pay a third of their gross revenue towards rent, and that won't change. So even though we're making these improvements and putting, as we said, $5 to $6 million worth of improvements, the resident portion of the rent should not increase.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Harper?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. You mentioned earlier that none of the residents will be displaced, and it seems like you're doing a major renovation with everything that you're doing. How is that going to be possible?
Well, what they're doing, currently they have some vacant units, and so they'll relocate the tenants that are currently in the units that they're going to rehab. They'll relocate them to those units that are vacant, do the upgrades, and then they'll have the option to move back into the units that they were located out of. So it won't displace. When we say displace, no one will have to move out of the unit, and no one will be required to move to another facility. All of them would be managed internally about moving the residents, doing the repairs, and then moving them back to the unit.
I've been through one of those renovation projects at my house, and I know how extensive that can be.
So that's the reason why they decided to do an approach of totally moving the family to a vacant unit rather than trying to do the rehab while they're within, the same unit. It gives, that way everything's always accessible, the bathrooms, et cetera. They won't have to move around the people that are there working in the units. They'll be living in a different unit long enough for them to do the work to the unit that they were in.
Thank you.
Commissioner Albert?
Also, aren't you taking on another nonprofit in Meals on Wheels or something to help expand their program or something also?
Yes, the way they're situated now, they have limited space, they have limited facilities, the trays, the area that they work, so the expansion would be to one of the rooms that they're gonna totally rehab that room so that they have an opportunity to have full capacity to a kitchen, have all the electric, et cetera, that they need to be fully functional. They'll have storage storage so that they can store everything that they need there on site. So yes, that is true.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank y'all. Resolution 17-12-4, resolution to amend animal care and control regulations regarding rabies vaccination registration fee and collection. I can probably speak to this a little bit. I may have to get Tim to add something. Basically, this is changing the registration fee for the month of March, which is Rabies Awareness Month, to $1. Is that correct?
Yes.
To $1, and also the 15 or the 3-year vaccination is $5 as opposed to $15.
Yes, or one in that.
Or one during the month of March during Rabies Awareness Month. And the other, probably the big substantial change is the collection process and the issuance of rabies registration fees. Tim's been working with the state of Tennessee on an interlocal agreement, and basically animal control will be responsible through a cooperation with the state of issuing all the rabies tags for Montgomery County. They will issue them to the vets. They will provide all the vets with a list of who has what tags, because that's sometimes dogs are brought to vet clinics that are lost or whatever, and so the vets will be able to see not only the tags that they've issued, but also every other veterinarian. And I want to thank Tim for his hard work on this. Tim, I don't know if you want to add anything to that process.
No, I mean.
It has, both of these items have been before the Animal Control Committee, and they've approved both of those. Any questions? Commissioner Redd.
I guess for council, I guess I've got a question. There's a lot of opposition, of course, from the veterinarians here, and if they don't want to collect this, we can't give them a fine or anything, and I was wondering, how are we going to be able to enforce it?
Well,
just want to get your thoughts on that part.
I clearly think it's enforceable, and hopefully we'll have compliance. But where we don't have compliance, and some of I will tell you, we spend a lot of time talking about how some vets don't do it this way or that way, or out-of-towners come in and you can't enforce this or you can't enforce that. So there was a great deal of work put into trying to create an enforcement process. We will distribute the tags. It's the only tag that counts. If we find out someone's come into town and set up shop at a hardware store, then we'll go out there and say, you've got to use our tags. You've got to do that, and we'll take action against them if they try to do otherwise. If we have at the end of the year not a return of the tag that we've distributed, nor a payment of the fee associated with the tag and the record, then we'll take that up with the vet as we speak. And to be frank with you, it's a far greater issue than just a fine. If someone has collected $5 on behalf of Montgomery County and not paid Montgomery County, I think that they would be very chagrined to find out that the state of Tennessee is now aware of that too, because we're now distributing those tags for the state of Tennessee. So I think we'll have a lot of voluntary compliance. And if we don't, frankly, it's like anything else, we can sue somebody. So I hope it doesn't come to that.
So we would be seeking help from the state, and the state would be able to implement some kind of penalty to them?
No. What I'm suggesting to you is that we are the distributor of the tag for the state of Tennessee, and only a licensed veterinarian can give the tag, can give the shot. They put the tag on the animal according to the state. They then give us back the medical record that the state expects them to produce, and we as the custodian take that back to the state of Tennessee. If we get to the end of the year and a veterinarian has not submitted documentation that shows you gave me 500 tags numbered 501 to 1,000, and I've only given you back 100 tags, then we're going to pursue that vet where the other tags if we don't have that paperwork on it. What I'm suggesting to you is we're the delegee of the state to pick up those medical records on those vaccinations. So if the vet wants I guess I'm suggesting to you, if someone says, bring your animal over here, I'll vaccinate it, and I won't turn a record into the state, and I won't charge you the $5, you're talking about a kind of a bold move. So I suspect we're going to have a lot more compliance where we'll get medical records, and if they don't turn in the money, then we'll just pursue that civilly.
Civilly, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Under our reports, nominating committee, Commissioner Nichols.
Thank you, Mayor. The nominating committee met this evening, and we have one committee that we addressed. We have 5 commissioners nominated. They are Commissioner Arnold Hodges, nominated to serve another 2-year term to expire December 19. Commissioner Brandon Butch nominated to serve another 2-year term to expire December 19. Commissioner David Harper nominated to serve another 2-year term to expire December 19. Commissioner Gildersleeve nominated to serve another 2-year term to expire December 19. And Commissioner Audrey Tooley nominated to replace Commissioner Rocconi for a 2-year term to expire December 19. And that's all of the nominations for the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nichols. Under the county mayor nominations, the Public Building Authority, Commissioner Gannon has been filling an unexpired term and is now eligible to serve his first full 6-year term to expire January 2023. You also note on your reports the county clerk's notary list. You'll also see the reports that have been filed. I'm sure we'll have some additional reports. Is there any old business? Commissioner Sokol?
Thank you, Mayor. At the last airport committee meeting, we were presented with good news. The Austin Peay State University has been given permission to start structuring classes, which will include the Veterans Administration, out at the airport. Through this effort, they'll be able to draw in services from a helicopter company to come in and start giving flying lessons. That's good news. They will be creating a classroom environment. They'll have the equipment on site, and that will draw in a lot of customers and a lot of activity at the airport. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Sokol. Any other old business? Just a couple announcements. Due to the holiday, the January informal commission meeting will be held on Tuesday, January the 2nd at 6 p.m. So our January informal meeting will be on Tuesday. I hope to see all of y'all at the Mayor's Christmas breakfast this Thursday. You're welcome to drop by anytime between 7 and 9:30 p.m. Lastly, I would be remiss, I recognize Dr. Ripple, but I also want to recognize Jerry Buchanan. This will be Jerry's last informal meeting. Jerry, a tireless effort is really all I can say. A man of not a whole lot of words, but a whole lot of action. I know you really don't like coming up and speaking in front of this microphone very often, and you don't have a lot to say, but what you say, we know we can take heart in it. So I just want to thank you for all that you've done for Montgomery County, and really, I know you do a lot of work with other counties with the state of Tennessee, and so your service is greatly appreciated, and we'll recognize you more next Monday night. But since I said something to Dr. Ripple, I want to say something to you as well. So thank you, Jerry Buchanan. Any other business? We're adjourned. Thank y'all.